Compelling question. What makes a civilization complex? Unit 2, Ancient Mesopotamia. Supporting question. What empires developed in ancient Mesopotamia? Excerpt from Chronicle of Early Kings. Introductions. The Chronicles of Early Kings. Compelling question. What makes a civilization complex? Unit 2, Ancient Mesopotamia. Supporting question. What empires developed in ancient Mesopotamia? Excerpt from Chronicle of Early Kings. Introduction. The Chronicle of Early Kings is a text from ancient Babylonia, an empire that ruled Mesopotamia many years after Sargon. Although it claims to offer information about the oldest period and the old Babylonian Empire, it was probably written much later. This chronicle was written on the first of 2 tablets. The line numbering has been added to help modern readers. Source: translation adapted from A.K. Grayson in Assyria and Babylonian Chronicles, published in 1975. Sargon, king of Akkad, came to power during the reign of Ishtar, and he had neither rival nor equal. His splendor over the lands it diffused or spread. He crossed the sea in the east. In the 11th year, he conquered the western land to its farthest point. He brought it under one authority. He set up his statues there and ferried the west booty, treasures, across on barges. He stationed his court officials at intervals of 5 double hours and ruled in unity the tribes of the lands. He marched to Kazula and turned Kazula into ruin heap, so that there was not even a perch for a bird left. Afterwards, in his old age, all of the lands rebelled again and surrounded him in Agag. Sargon went out to fight and brought about their defeat. He overthrew them and overpowered their extensive army. Afterwards, Sarbotu attacked Sargon in full force and called him to arms. Sargon set an ambush and completely defeated them. He overpowered their extensive army and set their possessions into Akkad. He dug up the dirt of the pit of Babylon, and he made a counterpart of Babylon next to Akkad. Because the wrong he had done to Babylon, the great lord Marduk, a Babylonian god, became angry and wiped out his family by famine. From the east to the west, the subjects rebelled against him, and Marduk afflicted him with insomnia. Document 1. Questions. Sourcing. What type of document is this? When was it written? Why do you think it was written? According to this document, how did Sargon's empire expand his empire? Close reading. According to this account, what happened when Sarbotu attacked Sargon? Document 2. Sargon was both a strong king and a skilled general who built his empire through effective military strategies. After assembling a large army, he taught his soldiers to fight in tight formations. Soldiers carrying shields stood at the front of the formation, while those carrying spears stood in the line behind. The spear carriers would extend their weapons between the shields. Sargon used his military tactics to add territory to his empire. After defeating the king of the city-state of Uruk. Sargon had gained control of all Mesopotamia, including Sumer. To maintain control of his empire, Sargon used very clever political strategies. He destroyed the walls of many city-states, leaving them completely defenseless. Sargon believed that without the protection of the walls, people were less likely to rebel. He also demanded the loyalty of the governors of city-states, replacing any disloyal ones with his own men. Sargon lived to be a very great age and decreed that his sons would rule after his death. His name soon passed into legend because he and the Akkadians had created the world's first empire, their greatest achievement. According to this document, how is Sargon described as a strong king? According to this document, how did Sargon gain control of all of Mesopotamia? According to the text, why did Sargon destroy the walls of the city? Last question. According to this source, what did Sargon declare should happen after his death? Document 3. The Akkadians had their own cultural achievements. Over time, their language replaced that of the Sumerians. In art, they became especially well known for their skillful three-dimensional sculptures. Artisans also carved relief sculptures called steles on stones. A famous example is the Victory Stele, which was created to celebrate a military victory by Sargon's grandson, King Naram-Sin. The stele shows Naram-Sin leading his victorious army up a mountain slope. Some of his enemies are crushed underfoot, while others die, flee, or beg for mercy. Sargon had hoped that his empire would last for 1,000 years, but future kings found it difficult to rule such a large territory, causing the empire to grow weak. After about 200 years, the Akkadian Empire fell to new invaders from the north and east. Questions. According to this document, describe the steles that were created by the Akkadians. Question 2. According to the text, what evidence proves that King Sargon's plan of succession was honored? Question 3. Why might King Naram-Sin had the Victory Stele created? Document 4. Sargon ruled his empire for more than 50 years, during which he formed the city of Akkad in northern Mesopotamia, the empire's capital. He constructed the city with the help of tributes collected from the people he conquered. One of the richest and most powerful cities in the world, Akkad became a cultural center with many beautiful temples and palaces. The Akkadians may have ruled Sumer, but the Sumerian culture continued to thrive. The Akkadians farmed using the Sumerians' irrigation techniques. To record information, they used Sumer's system of cuneiform writing. They even worshiped the same gods and goddesses, despite referring to them by different names. Religion stayed central to the social order, and kings continued to rule in the name of the gods. Although men typically held power, priestesses and noblewomen had some access to power. For example, Sargon placed his daughter in the powerful position of high priestess of the moon god, a tradition that later kings adopted as well. Questions. According to this document, how did King Sargon construct and build the city of Akkad? According to this document, what did the Akkadians adapt from the Sumerians? According to the text, how was the religion and the government connected amongst the Akkadians? Document 5. The Assyrians were feared for their military might and their cruelty. Their greatest achievements were their new weapons and war strategies. They perfected the use of horses and iron weapons in battle. They also became greatly skilled at sage warfare, a strategy in which army soldiers camp outside a city and repeatedly attack it until the city falls. The Assyrians developed new ways of attacking cities. For instance, they developed new types of battering rams. These long, heavy-wheeled beams were used for breaking down walls. The Assyrians also built movable towers that were rolled up to a city's walls so that soldiers could climb over the walls. The Assyrians were often ruthless. They might force entire populations to leave areas they had already recently conquered. The Assyrians spread tales of their cruelty far and wide, and creating fear among their enemies became part of the Assyrian military strategy. Questions. According to this document, why were other civilizations afraid of the Assyrians? According to the text, what did the Assyrians learn to perfect? According to the text, name 4 ways that the Assyrians defeated their enemies. One. Naram-Sin, also transcribed Naram-Sin or Naram-Suan, was a ruler of the Akkadian Empire who reigned from 2254 BC to 2218 BC, and was the 3rd successor and grandson of King Sargon of Akkad. Under Naram-Sin, the empire reached its maximum strength. Observe its parts. Describe it as if you were explaining it to someone who can't see it. Think about the shape, color, texture, size, weight, age, condition, movable parts, or anything written on it. Where is it from? When is it from? Who used it? List reasons you think so. What was it used for? List reasons you think so. What does this tell you about the people who made and used it? What does it tell you about technology at the time it was made? What is a similar item from today? What did you find out from this artifact that you might not learn anywhere else? Artifact 2. Background. A stele is a monument composed of a single column of shaft typically erected to commemorate an important event or person. The Akkadians under Sargon dominated the Sumerians about 2300 BC. Naram-Sin was Sargon's grandson. The godlike Akkadian kings ruled with absolute authority. Naram-Sin's title was King of the Four Quarters, meaning ruler of the world. Damaged on both the top and bottom, Naram-Sin still depicts the king's defeat of Lullaby peoples of present-day Iran. Describe it as if you were explaining to someone who can't see. Think about shape, color, texture, size, weight, age, condition, movable parts, or anything written on it. Where is it from? When is it from? Who used it? List reasons you think so. What was it used for? List reasons you think so. What does this tell you about the people who made and used it? What does it tell you about technology at the time it was made? What is it a similar item from today? What did you find out from this artifact that you might not learn anywhere else? Artifact 3. Describe it as if you were explaining it to someone who can't see. The king also has numerous accoutrements, signifying his status and authority. He is wearing the horned helmet showing his godlike status, and is carrying numerous weapons, including spears and a bow. Answer as best as you can. Where is it from? When is it from? Who used it? List reasons you think so. What was it used for? List reasons you think so. What does this tell you about the people who made and used it? What does it tell you about technology at the time it was made? What did you find? What is a similar item from today? What did you find out from this artifact that you might not learn anywhere else? Artifact 4. The foes of Naram-Sin. Naram-Sin is by far the most prominent figure, much taller than his disciplined soldiers marching up the mountain below him. As he tramples over one of his fallen enemies, others beg for mercy. Note the one with a broken spear. They have good reason to fear him. He has kicked one off the mountain and rammed a spear through another's neck as a possible sacrifice to the gods, represented by the star-like figures above him. Naram-Sin is the partial figure in the upper left portion of the image. Observe its parts. Describe it as if you were explaining it to someone who can't see. Think about shape, color, texture, size, weight, age, condition, movable parts, or anything written on it. Where is it from? When is it from? Who used it? List reasons you think so. What was it used for? List reasons you think so. What does this tell you about the people who made and used it? What does it tell you about technology at the time it was made? What is a similar item from today? What did you find out from this artifact that you might not learn anywhere else?